Welcome to Wine and Cheese. I'm pretty sure this is Wine and Cheese number 32. I could be off, but it's probably because I've just been excited and I didn't even pay attention to what episode we were on. It's hard to, from my point of view, find some words to describe guests at some point. But the best thing I could come up with was tonight I've got two relevant legends in the metal industry, not just in New Orleans and locally, but from the research that I've done and from what I've seen, really in the metal genre as a whole. We got two heavy hitters here tonight. I have KIRK WINDSTEIN of Crowbar, and I have Kyle Thomas of Trouble. How y'all doing?
Good, man.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Are y'all okay?
Wunderbar.
Are y'all okay with me using a term like legend?
It doesn't bother me.
If the crown fits.
It's kind of one of them, believe me, I'm not a, I'm proud of what I've done, but I'm not the type, I don't believe that I dwell on my accomplishments. I just feel blessed to have been able to do what I've done.
Legends are rich.
I mean, when you're in England and Ireland and people are, oh, you're a fucking legend, man, and it's great, it makes you feel good.
And
Like,
what's
legends are, not all of them, though.
What's beautiful about that is when you really can, and there's plenty of words to describe it, but when you can really garner that type of respect, you never say it yourself. It's when people are saying that about you.
Right. I would never ask, to be, by the way, can you please introduce me? Introduce me.
As legend?
As legend, KIRK WINDSTEIN.
Yeah, the legendary, I'm just not, it's like, believe me, I don't take it personally if someone's like, who the fuck are you, I don't expect them to know who I am.
If after 30-something years of us doing this, not having reached people in a special way, then clearly we're not doing our jobs right. So
Hey, I'm totally with you. And before we get too far in, I just want to recognize the main sponsor of this show. They are the Wannabes, the Wannabe Nation. We have never won a tournament, but we've never lost a party. So everybody go to wannabeapparel.com, buy some gear, keep the show going, and we'll be in your face all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Awesome.
you guys, about a month ago, went together on tour in Europe for about 2.5, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Is that the first time that KIRK and Kyle, y'all have ever gone to tour out of the States forever?
Absolutely. We've
Well,
never toured.
Toured, right, even then, other than the odd, maybe weekend package or something, Crowbar supporting Exhorder or something like that, we've never toured together. And we actually, our situation's a little different, so we were able to do a few shows before we hooked up with Trouble, and then we did an additional bit at the end, which by that time I got kind of really ill and kind of was hoping I went home. I was hoping I would have gone home when y'all did, and would have been in bed, having my lovely wife, wait on me and take care of me and be my nurse. But it was the experience was fantastic. It's very odd for me because Kyle and I have been friends. He's quite a bit. Everybody's quite a bit younger than me. But
Now, is that the truth? Have y'all always been friends? I kind of heard some rumblings that maybe y'all had a rivalry back in the day. And look, this is just from, you got to remember, when I'm doing research for this, I'm literally just talking to the local people who are fans of y'all, and I'm talking maybe in your 20s. And
there was a period of time when Exhorder first started out that we were rivals with everybody.
Right?
No, y'all were.
Is it a youth thing? Is it a youth thing?
I mean, maybe. I really, when we first started, I didn't know KIRK like we know each other now. I only knew him from actually being a fan when I was younger and going to see Victorian Blitz play, which was his band back when I was in
cover song band.
high school, and some kind of way, when Exhorder first came out, they managed to piss off everybody, which is kind of just what we did.
I think you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and the dust settled on that once everybody realizes that everybody's just as bored and wanting to hang out as everybody else.
I think age brings people showing you their nipples off camera. And also,
Sexy too, ladies and gentlemen.
who is that just revealed their nipple to us?
That would be Big Sexy.
All right.
AKA Todd Strange, AKA Sexy T.
Okay, and I'm sure we're going to get into some of that later. But when y'all are on the road, we just kind of brought up the fact that y'all have been in Europe or just got back from Europe for 3 weeks. Is there any competition between the two of y'all when y'all are out on the road? It's two bands that are kind of both fighting for the crowd response and what's going on. Is there any competition, even in a fun way?
One thing about how we felt in the Trouble camp was, and I refer to Bruce and Rick as the elders.
I like that.
The elders.
The elder.
They
sounds smart.
They were like, isn't this the most laid back, cool, just feel good tour, brotherly kind of tour that, they've toured a lot more than I ever did, and for the simple fact that, Crowbar and Trouble toured together many years ago before I was ever in trouble, and so there was familiarity there. But I walk in to the first show in Germany, and okay, well, there's all my friends. It just started out like that.
You feel the same way?
Yeah, the only thing that's odd, I have my Trouble tattoo there, is that Trouble is such an influential band to me. It was odd. On this particular tour, Trouble went on before Crowbar did, which is weird to me, but that's, whatever. It is what it is. We were just glad to have, and just like the elders said, we felt the same way. It was like, it's so laid back. There's no attitudes. Everybody, we're all in the same boat. It's like we all show up and we're all in the dressing room. They might be down the hall. A lot of times we share the dressing room. We're helping each other out with, sharing gear. We're trying to make the whole experience
sharing love
easy. trying to make the whole tour, because touring is hard, especially the older you get, as simple as we could be with each other. Sharing gear, sharing the dressing rooms, just being not just courteous, but just being nice to one another and trying to help each other out. If
crew helping each other.
Yeah, it's like Rick might be having a trouble with his, no pun intended, with trouble. His pedal board or something, and I'm like, I've got a bunch of extra cables, and I'm like trying to help him do. It's
so
just
that brings up 2 points that kind of jump into my head. One, that type of relationship between 2 touring metal bands kind of seems anti-metal to me. The metal kind of seems like a rough, antagonistic type of music that you kind of have to always be on your game, and really it's us against the world. So does that harmony kind of go against what metal is as a whole?
I wouldn't say so. Basically, you got it. It's a person thing, I think, more than a metal thing or a West Coast thing or this and that. It's, I've got friends in bands that play worldwide, and some of them are the coolest people. And there's a lot of bands that we've come across over the years that are like, man, I hope I never have to work with these dudes.
Jackasses again.
When you were younger, did you show up to gigs and tours with a different attitude? Did you show up with I'm gonna slay everybody in my path, and I don't care what anybody else thinks?
My thing is, it's not about slaying the other band, it's about slaying the audience. And that's the thing. I'm going to give my 110% no matter if I'm sick, if I'm in a great mood, if I just won the fucking lottery, whatever it might be. My mindset does not change. For me, I said in one of the first shows of the tour, I'm like, we're so happy to have, Trouble, one of our favorite bands in the world, and a very influential band on Crowbar and on our sound. But, I'm like, yeah, but we have the unenviable task of going on after these guys every night.
Right.
And I mean that. But the thing is even though we stole a lot of shit from them, and we did, but, not to the level of plagiarism, hopefully. It's still 2 different styles of music, and the crowd really seemed to enjoy. We had Trouble fans, old school, hardcore Trouble fans who were kind of just like, I'm gonna hang around for 2 songs and see what this Crowbar shit's all about, and vice versa.
Yeah.
That's what people do.
Yeah.
And I've had them come up after and go, "Oh my God, y'all were incredible." I hear the Trouble influence. I see why, y'all are on tour together and stuff like that, man. And that's a good thing. I mean, it's like,
The crowds meshed well together.
yeah, they really did.
And even though probably the majority of the crowds were, intertwined.
And
but
this is,
you're
Kyle, this is
gonna
what
have
I
some-
love about doing this show is that I spend a week, and I even get an extra week to do research on you and dig on the internet and all. And I have a formula of how I want to talk about these things, but things just pop into my head. You're talking about the styles of music, correct? So if you are just a lay fan and you go on the internet and you look up Crowbar, there are quotations, sludge, slow, this type of metal. Kyle is in a band called Trouble, doomcore. What's the necessity for this classification of these specific types of metal, like doom? And because I'll tell you this, before you answer it, here's my opinion. I think it hurts the genre, and I think it hurts the bands to classify them into this thing called sludge metal, because then you cross these things together, and Trouble is a doomcore band, and then they're touring with Crowbar, who's sludge, and automatically you're going to get a division, and it's going to hurt the lay person to come and look at it because they say sludge. I'm not into something called sludge. So what do you think about this classification of these metal genres?
Probably more of a fan thing and a marketing thing, I would think. Just this is how we are arranging our displays in the store, in the CD store or whatever, if they still have those.
I think a lot of it's the press as well. Like, we don't claim to be we didn't make up the term sludge metal. It's overdone. It's heavy music. More importantly, it's good music. Great music. We all think, and that's the most important thing. And yeah, we fit together because we're heavy. But I mean, Crowbar has toured with Morbid Angel and Obituary and Suffocation and Pantera and freaking whatever. I mean, we've always been able to hold our own and cross, and we can go out with St. Vitus or Trouble or whatever. Some traditional bands that are a little older than us that are labeled doom, and we just somehow always blend. It's just there's too many. We don't need that many genres. It's like,
I agree.
It's like
It is too
When I was doing the
not
research, just so
generalizing.
you both know, Kyle knows, I don't ask somebody to sit down unless I do a solid week's worth of digging, because I want
think that's great.
I want to know what I'm
Right.
talking about, and that was a constant theme, that it had to be called this and it had to be called doom. And
I think it started in the late 80s, to be honest with you, when you started having thrash metal, metal,
Yeah,
punk,
like
punk
hair metal
yeah,
and
it
yeah.
used to just be all metal, and then then bands like Venom came out, and it's like, whoa.
Is hair metal what did it?
Now we got to call it black metal, and now that black metal that they used to call back then, like Venom and Merciful
Has
Fate,
nothing to
that's
do.
not even close to what
Right.
black metal is now.
Yeah.
is hair metal what fucked it all? Is that
No.
what made people go, this is not
Poor hair metal.
What,
Hair metal
what,
just.
Well, I mean,
what Poison is not what Crowbar is, and it's a different thing.
Well,
like, is that where we had to start saying?
If you're fortunate enough to have eyesight and you look at a photo of Poison, you look at a photo of Crowbar, the only thing we have in common is we're human beings.
Yes, I agree.
And to me, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I've seen Poison live. They were great, man. I'm a fan of music. I love all genres as long as it's good. I'm not like, it's got to be metal or it's got to be this, it's got to be that. If I hear a song on the radio, I don't give a fuck who it is. If I like the song and I find myself walking around the house singing it and it's catchy, then I like the song.
Have you ever found yourself listening to a Justin Bieber song on the radio and singing it around the house?
I won't say I was singing, but with my daughter, yes, she's still, she's only 13, but she's been having Bieber fever since she
What's
was
your favorite
quite young.
Justin Bieber song?
I couldn't name one.
Really?
I
Well, sing
will
the hook
say-
to me. Sing the hook to me.
I couldn't name it.
Because I think I told Kyle or somebody else on one of our shows that I had to admit the fact that I'm driving around and going through the Sirius radio and Justin Bieber's song Sorry comes on, and all of a sudden
You're in.
I'm not only am I
You're
in,
personally involved.
but he's singing to me. You know, I'm like, he knows exactly what I'm going through.
I mean, I've heard, like I say, but, you know,
Yeah.
with my daughter, yes, I've heard it, you know, and I've heard a lot of it, a lot of the newer stuff. My stepson's a bit older, and he's getting a little more diverse with his, you know, taste.
What's he
in
into?
music. Yeah, when I first got with Robin, my wife, he was strictly like a hip hop kid, but lately he's a lot more into old classic rock. Like, you know, he's in Pink Floyd and Zeppelin and Rush.
So he's taking what I would call our path. He's going back.
You know,
which is
they,
what
they
we
don't
did. We all
market
did,
metal
right?
to kids. So,
No,
like,
it's-
you know, when my kids were younger, everything was Radio Disney.
Yeah, everything's. I mean, all the new. I surely didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's
but no, it's like all the new music, all the new radio stations, unless it's a classic rock station or it is a satellite radio station or whatever. If you just click around on the radio stations outside of classic rock or country or whatever, every new song is, you know, Taylor Swift and Nicki Minaj and whatever it might be, and that's the way it is these days.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, more power to them and all that. It's just, you know, you really gotta. You have
It's
to
marketed
go.
for the moment more than it is for long term.
Oh, totally. Because, God, you can't. I mean, how many of these younger artists have we seen come and go in the last 5 years where, you know, they had this giant hit and then next thing you know they're on
Flavor of the week.
TMZ or whatever it's called. No, overdose. You know, like 17 years.
Well, we are going to get back to that because I want to talk about some just social media stuff, but I don't want to leave what we started talking about, which was y'all touring in Europe together. When you were younger, starting out, just picking the guitar up and things, did you ever think or even aspire to or plan to be touring the world? I mean, you're basically international successes. Did you ever think about that when you were in your 20s?
I wanted it. I hoped for it. You know, I dreamt of it, but I didn't think it would become a reality. I mean, at my last count, which I think is correct, between Crowbar Down, Kingdom of Sorrow, and a few press tours, the tour we just did with Trouble, I think was my 41st time to Europe.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I never dreamt of that.
You got a big lead on me, dude.
So okay, y'all just went out there. What is the baddest ass place that y'all played where the people went the most ape shit and you were like, this is what this is about? What's the best place that y'all went to on this last tour?
I would say, jeez.
I usually say Germany.
They get it they get metal big
Yeah.
time. They
But
really.
y'all played a couple of places in Germany. What about in Germany? Let's say we got it narrowed down. What was the place that y'all went that was, you've just felt it coming back from them the most?
Turok was good.
And where's that?
What's the name? Is that Essen?
Essen, yes. Essen was probably one of the, and it always is. Essen is also, I found out just this past trip, it's kind of like a center of a lot of like, I think like the Destruction Creator, a lot of those bands and all are from that area. So it's one of those gigs that it's always a packed house. The
Unless
people are
there's a
really
football
into-
game there going on,
Oh,
right?
I've been through that too.
So just know that I watched every minute of tape on both of y'all on the internet, and that was one thing that I learned is that you do not schedule a show in Germany when there's a football game going
in
on.
any European country. we did a show with supporting Sepultura in Spain, and I think Spain were playing Portugal. And I'm not lying, we're on stage, and it was this weird thing. It was kind of like this big shed type thing or whatever. But, you know, say it's a 500-600 people type capacity thing or whatever. Nice size thing, real nice stage, great production, all that shit. Well, as you're on stage, I'm center stage, looking to my left, there's a gigantic video screen. So the entire audience, instead of looking at Crowbar, we're looking at their left side because they're all sitting there with a
weird is that?
bratwurst and a beer or whatever.
Jeez.
And then I'm like, all right, man, y'all want one more? And it was like,
Yeah.
I looked at Matt, my guitar player, and I went, we're done, bro.
We're good.
All right, thank y'all, scrub up and on.
That's how it feels
Yeah.
to be on Bourbon Street every night.
I mean,
Yeah.
I could try and feel it. I understand what he's saying. So I look at Matt, and I'm like, oh, we kind of pack our gear up and all that. I'm like, what do you want to do? He's like, well, fuck it, let's get a bratwurst and some beer and just hang out with everybody.
And watch the
So
fucking-
I'm like, yeah, Sepultura will have a great show.
Yeah.
And they sounded great, but same thing. The entire thing was facing the video screen. So we all just kind of gave up.
Yeah.
We just
Well,
like,
look, good
we're not
lesson
gonna win,
learned.
man. And it's World Cup. It's like the Saints being in the Super Bowl.
Or
Yeah.
it's like don't go play a gig in Baton Rouge on a Saturday night during the
Right.
football
You're right.
season,
No,
right?
it's not happening.
So
Another good show was,
Yeah.
even though there was some technical difficulties, for at least for us anyway, the Paris show at Glazart, man, that for whatever reason,
Yeah, but
I think
mean, we had
those
a good
people might
set
have
as
been
well.
more excited to see Trouble play than anywhere else on that tour, and it was a good feeling.
I'm not
here's-
a big fan of that venue, to be honest. And
It's-
nothing against them,
they're
I don't
nice
think they're
people.
going to
Yes,
see
they're very
this.
nice.
Really,
people.
they
It's not-
work very hard.
It's not their
Although
fault.
they may.
But yeah, that
It
was a
sounds
great
weird
show.
in there.
Yeah, it's a little. It's that was our second time at that particular venue. But I mean, in general, it's like, the UK gets it, Germany gets it, the Netherlands get it. A little more mellow because everybody's smoking pot, to be honest. They are. And, then they don't deny it.
And so I
Everybody's
don't
hot.
miss it later in the show. Why is it that Europe is way more into and you're more successful in the metal genre? Why is it more popular in Europe? What's the brass tacks on that? Why are you more successful in Europe than we are in the United
I
States?
blame the American music industry and the media machine.
But it's always been like that, Kyle. Everything I can ever remember since the time I was 18, 19, hanging out with these killer metal musicians, even then they said Europe is where they appreciate that before the internet, before all that. Why is it that those people love metal, like not even close, way more than we do here? What is it about the music?
I don't know that it's my thing, and of course I can only kind of speak of the metal genre because that's what I'm part of. But my philosophy on Europe has always been, and that's why you still have, bands that have been around for 30 plus years or whatever, drawing well and doing well in Europe, Germany primarily, but also a lot of, now that things are moving further east.
Oh, yeah.
Poland's, when we first started touring, when T was first, Poland was, there was closed borders everywhere. There was no euro. It was different currencies.
Yeah.
It was a lot more difficult. Now it's opened up where, we do Serbia, we do Croatia, we do Bulgaria, we do Russia, we do, a lot of countries, Slovakia, Slovenia, Czech Republic, all these places, Hungary.
Why do they like metal?
Like I'm saying, to me, it's not just about the metal. It's about the problem with America is the attention span of the average American music fan. I don't mean the old timers like us. I mean the kids. There are bands that 5 years ago was selling out, 3,000 seat theaters and all, that are opening for other bands for next to nothing money-wise riding in a fucking van. Because my philosophy with the whole European crowd and audience and the fans, if they like you, they like you. As long as you continue to deliver on stage every night, be cool to your fans, sign shit, take photos, continue to put out good music, they will stay with you forever.
Maybe the answer is that they're just better music fans than we are.
Well, I think
maybe
they're
they're more
more-
informed. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe
I
they're
think
just
they're
better.
more loyal in the sense that when you can play some club here and it's like you might even have a nice crowd, but half the people are there because it's an event. It's not that they're diehard fans.
And they want to get a
guys are
selfie
there to
with
pick
Kirk
up
or
on a
with Kyle.
girl, or the people
Right?
are there to get drunk.
They
or
want to
whatever.
show up and go up to the front and take a selfie and let it know that
There's
I was
a lot
in
more.
Kyle Thomas's audience
There's
tonight.
probably a lot more of the, like he's saying, I don't really care who's playing. I just know that there's going to be 500 people there, and I get to go hang out and wear my new outfit, and
Yeah.
The Paris Hilton effect.
Get drunk and
Right?
you
She
know.
gonna be at the club, so we gonna be
Right.
there.
And I mean, I think when you play, I mean, when you show up at a gig in Europe, there's people waiting for you that have been standing there all day.
yes.
They have shit. Oh my God, I didn't even know this was one of our records.
When did they
want
release
everything
this on
signed.
vinyl?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that brings me to another point that it's crazy because we were supposed to do this interview a week ago and we're doing it this week. And one thing that I wouldn't have asked last week that I'm asking this week is, do you worry now abroad, at home, about terrorism or about some shit going down at one of your shows? Do y'all worry about that now?
Sometimes.
It's in the back of my mind, I guess, always. But I mean, ever since the dime thing, even it's always in the back of my mind. I'm almost nightly, and I played. Jesus, that's going on 12 years ago.
I was gonna say it's been 11 years, I thought, but yeah.
I have literally played, my God, I can't tell you how many hundreds and hundreds of shows since then. But it's still in the back of my mind. The terrorism thing, like I remember we toured with High on Fire. In December, we supported those dudes in the southeast states. And I was talking to Matt Pike, and he's like, man, we played Paris 3 days after the terrorist thing. And we kind of
The Eagles of Death Metal show?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's like, we played, I don't know if it was the same venue, but they played Paris 3 days after. And he's like, we're looking at each other, and Dez, a drummer, who lives 3 doors down from where I grew up on Steamboat Lane.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Matt's like, man, I looked at Dez. I'm like, dude, you're the one with the wife and the, family and everything. It's your call, bro. If you don't feel comfortable, we won't do it.
Yeah, but there's no way you can say we're
And
not
he's
doing
like,
it.
no, let's just do it. And he's like, man, we had a great show. People appreciate it. Of course, there was a lot of mourning going on, and and that that weird feeling in the air and all that. But I mean, you went from a heavy metal show in Paris to a gay nightclub in Orlando, Florida. So nothing is safe.
Right?
You'd be
Anything-
foolish to not be vigilant everywhere you go.
I was gonna say, do the tours as a band and as a group that are running your tours, are you doing anything different now that you would have been doing, say, 3 years ago?
We don't. I mean, we don't.
So you're just rolling the fucking dice. If someone blasts you on stage, it's over, right? Is that the mind? Because that's the mindset I would take. I would say we're going out here to kick ass and perform, and I can't let that thought influence what I'm giving to the crowd.
That night in Paris where everything went so crazy with the Eagles of Death Metal show, and that's just a fraction of what happened there. That's, it's just a part of it. I remember this tour that we did was in Strong Talks. I don't know if it was fully booked, but it was in the works. And I remember I looked at my wife Renee. I said, I'm not going, man. I can't go do this, And then that was my initial thing. It's like, I don't want to go around this. I don't want to be in airports. I don't want to be
But when you
anywhere
really
like
think
this.
about it, the odds are
But-
astronomical.
Of course,
but
that
it's
you're
still a
gonna be-
thought, right?
When the dust settles and everything goes back to a normal routine, normal life, you just got to live life. You just have to go,
I mean, to me, it's no different than if I was a steel worker, which is a dangerous job. I can't go, you know what, I'm not going to go into work today because what if I have an accident and I'll
Well,
lose
let's
a
be
leg
honest.
or something?
Let's be honest. A dude showing up with an automatic assault rifle is a little bit different than being a steel worker, right?
No, but
you can, as a steel worker,
We don't
you can take all.
ordinarily have people show up with automatic assault rifles.
No.
I mean,
right?
my point being is that there's, my attitude at least is if that's the way it's meant to be, then unfortunately that's the way it's meant to be. But my attitude is I'm going to go out and kick ass and do my thing. No different than, my God.
we should just slay them with metal.
Well,
I
it's,
agree.
it's because one of the interviews that I watched with KIRK, which I will say, most of the interviews that I've watched with the both of y'all, they should take a lesson on how to interview from the Wine and Cheese show, because I don't want to know about, what you were doing 20 years ago or ask you a million questions about your tattoos, which that seems to be what everybody asks, but I'm with you on that. But what I can tell you is I texted Kyle yesterday, Sunday from Champion Square. and I said, hey, are we good to do the interview Tuesday? And we could talk about how I've never seen Panic at the Disco, and they are fucking slaying 5,000 people, right? I'm the woman on this set, right? But what I can tell you is, every show that I go there, I'm lucky enough to be able to be part of the VIP section and things like that. When we went through the line of the security, and this was Sunday, there was panic and indecision in there. No, there was motherfucking panic in the disco.
And I heard you breathe like.
But no, walking into it, the people that were, Champion Square has had about 50 shows over the last 2 years. One time they brought in metal detectors, and it was for Little Louisiana Fest, which is Little Wayne and his whole tour. Yeah. It's never happened before. Weezer and Panic at the Disco, they made them bring in extra security to wand everybody with metal detectors, and you could see it in their faces. They dug in my pockets. Like, it was a real thing.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things, any event, I mean, whether it's a packed show in Paris, whether it's a packed nightclub in Orlando, whether it's think of a sporting event. I mean, my God.
A football game. Football or football, right?
I mean, they had
They blew up the freaking
German, thing as well go down. The Germany playing France or whatever it might have been. It may even been in Germany. I'm not sure, but something else. There was a couple of things that went down the night of the Paris incident. But it's like, I mean, it can be a crowded supermarket during, 2 days before Thanksgiving, where it's packed, or a crowded shopping mall.
So we can't.
Christmas.
What you're saying is we
gotta
can't go
live
around.
Your life. I mean, you can't hide in the
Can't live
corner.
in fear.
You let them win when you do. And,
Right.
I mean, you can say that, but at some point, someone's going to be there when it happens and be at the wrong place at the right time. And I don't know. I mean, people been killing each other for how long now? I'm not a fan of it. I'm with
you on that.
Hide at home every day. People go out and live their lives.
But I'm glad to hear that that's what y'all are saying, and that you're still going to go out there and do your thing. And I'm, kick ass and don't worry about it. We've been trying to come up with a mission statement or a slogan for this show, and pretty much what we've come up with is get up and do shit. And you got to get up and do shit, and you can't worry about what could happen. But I know it's got to be in everybody's minds, right?
I'm a safety conscious person, and
I know. I see you on Facebook. You're definitely practicing safety all the time.
What if this happens? And oh my God, we can't do this with the kids because what if this happens? And I get laughed at for it sometimes, but sometimes I'm right, and sometimes I'm probably being hyper vigilant.
And that's all right, man. I really wanted to get your opinion on that, just because you are actually the dudes that are going out there and putting yourself out there, and
Nobody's
shit could
got
happen.
a bigger target on them than someone who gets on a stage with spotlights.
Right,
Yeah.
because you can't see beyond, the first few rows. You have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, and after
really
a few
don't.
beers, you can't even see past the first two rows, right?
We don't do that. We don't do that.
I know. But I appreciate y'all kind of commenting on that. But the next thing I want to talk about is why now? So just to be open with both of you, Kyle and I talked about this when he was on the show before. I wasn't an Exhorder fan. I wasn't exposed to it. I was a massive fan of Floodgate because someone put it in my face. I haven't been a Crowbar fan until I realized this is going on. Why now? From an outsider's point of view, why now in 2016 does it seem like there's this resurgence? It seems like Crowbar is at their peak that they've ever been at. Why now? In 2016 is that happening when guys like you are, you could call it prime, right after prime. Why is it biggest right now?
The only thing I've ever, whenever I try to think of that question, the only thing that makes sense to me is that when we first came out, and it also goes for a lot of most of the New Orleans bands, even Exhorder and, Ahi God and Graveyard Rodeo, whoever it might be, Solar Green, whatever. I'm not trying to forget anybody. I'm just trying to, it's like when
this
Crowbar
all
came
day.
out, nothing else. Nobody else still sounds like Crowbar. We sound like Crowbar, and that's it. Love us or hate us, this is what we do. And when we came out, nobody knew what the fuck to make of it. I mean, our influences were bands like Carnivore and the Melvins and Trouble and St. Vitus and Witchfinder General and Pentagram and, of course, Black Sabbath and
Thrash
whatnot.
was so big then.
And then when we first came out, we kind of, I've said it in interviews and it's the truth, Jimmy Bauer and I kind of looked at one another and we're like, we still love thrash, but he's like, man, I can't play all that shit. I said, neither can I. I can play a lot.
Man, this is
We're
tough.
watching Exhorder. I'm like, I can't play like that. He's
We do
like,
not want to compete with these
He's
dudes.
like, bro, you think I can play like fucking Chris Nail? I'm like, no.
No.
I can't play like Vinny plays either. So our thing was we wanted to go the exact opposite. And in a weird way, even though we took a lot of stuff from, the bands that we took stuff from were underground.
Yeah.
So none of these bands were household names. So they were our influences. And then when we came out and put out records and all, people didn't really know. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense to me is people didn't know. I think it was ahead of its time, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back with that, but I truly believe it was. And that's the only explanation to me as to why, we used to get 8 people at shows, and I'm not lying sometimes. And now, thank God it's not like that. And it is, it's like, it's all come full circle tenfold. It's like we have an audience that's in our age group. We also have a younger audience because the weird thing is there's so many bands that are so much more successful than, and I can only speak for Crowbar, but that are so much more successful than Crowbar that continuously name us as such a huge influence. And oh my God, this legendary band and we love them and they got Crowbar tattoos and they whatever. And it's like all these guys got really, really, really popular. And some of them are still up there, some of them have faded, but it's
And
kind
you
of
stuck it out.
Yeah, it's just like my
30 years, am I right? It's going on.
It's 27.
27, right?
But my philosophy has always been the Motorhead philosophy. It's like
Do drugs,
Keep
bang
us-
chicks, and just fucking slay.
well, the
That's what.
the other side of the Motorhead.
That's what. When you said Motorhead, I'm like, yeah. Let's,
Well, meaning slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah.
It's also bizarre that a band like Motorhead that started in 1975 when Lemmy passed away, they've never been more popular.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times, I've read so much stuff on Motorhead, they're one of my favorite bands, one of my biggest influences. There were times in the 90s and they were like, man, basically Germany kept us alive. I mean, I've seen them play the House of Blues in New Orleans to 300 or 400 people, like not even close to being a full, a packed show, whatever. But they just kept doing what they did. They kicked ass every fucking night. They treat their fans right. They continue to put out great records. And if you do that, sooner or later, the general, your average fan or whatever will catch on. And that's my philosophy. And
do
hopefully,
you agree with that?
tell you
Because
what.
you're in a band that was even before Crowbar, and it seems like, from what I can see, Trouble is even going back to either bigger than they ever were, or they're reaching back up to that. How can a band with guys in their 60s, right?
Well,
Or
upwards.
50, right?
Close.
To me, it's got to be something that's going on with culture and music and taste.
As
It's
far as-
not necessarily just a band playing their thing forever. There's something going on where people are like, we're starving. I need to hear something real. And you know what? Here are these dudes that have been doing it for 30 years.
It's pretty simple, if you ask me. For somebody like me that has a vested interest in Crowbar but is not in Crowbar because of the friendships I have with these guys and the shows we played together for decades and decades.
And maybe you just
Don't
aren't
be
a good enough
fooled
singer.
by less is more.
No, I'm messing. Yeah, sorry.
I like
But-
that. I like
Don't be fooled by less is more, because every dude in that band is a killer musician, and they're doing, like he said, they're doing something that was kind of against the grain when they came out, and it was a real roll of the dice, but it was something that they believed in, and they sold it easily because it was so well done and from the heart. And they've always sounded pro, not just live, but in their studio. And, you know, Kirk's writing, he's similar to me in the way he wears his heart on his sleeve. So that right there is what makes it so relatable with the public, because when people can listen to something and hear someone's agony or someone's fury or someone's joy,
Right.
and you can insert that into your own life, it becomes a part of your life.
Real is what connects with people. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Absolutely.
Real is what connects with people for the long term, and I know myself. And this pop bubblegum shit, it's not actually, yeah, it's good to go to the club for a minute with, but it's not something
Dude,
that's
we
going to
all
connect.
love hearing David Lee Roth go, "Hey, man,
yeah,
I
hell
just
yeah.
fucked your girlfriend."
I brought my pencil.
But at the end of the day, you know, that's not the only thing that sold Van Halen.
No,
Yeah.
it's not only, you know,
It's killer ass
Eddie's
songs
guitar
and killer
playing.
music.
The bottom line is, it's songs.
I tell you
Yes,
what,
great
man.
songs.
Look,
Great songs.
my best friend ever in the world went to high school with Kyle, and Kyle and I talked about him, and he
A
is
fellow crusader.
he is
Crusader.
and you may not know him, but in my opinion, was pretty much the sickest guitar player that's been around here in the last 20 years, and that was exactly what he said. Write me a song, bro.
Yeah.
That's what he always said. He's like, the looks, the sound, whatever, songs are what connect with people. And I think that's what y'all are actually writing real and playing real music that people can connect with, and that's what keeps them coming back.
Yeah, and there is something to be said for being a throwback band. Like, for instance, when Exhorder got back together in the 2010 era, and all of a sudden we're getting these offers of, like, you know, thousands and thousands. I'm actually not ready.
No, that's okay. It's my show. You're ready.
But yeah, we're getting these offers. I can remember driving Joe's garage
Yeah.
for $150 in Dallas Fort Worth.
Yep.
And, you know, there's 500 people there and the guy pays us $150, you know. But
Who you think won out there?
I'm glad you brought that up, because it was my next question. Kirk,
Yes.
are you a fan of Exhorder?
Absolutely am. I actually tried out
He did.
bass. There was a time between Slugs and Crowbar-ish time that, I mean, Kyle came to my apartment. I believe I did Desecrator, Legions of Death,
Homicide, huh?
Homicide, yes. And Kyle actually, I had no idea he was that good of a bass player.
I taught him a lot of the parts.
I still fuck with that. Killer bees.
So here's what I want to know.
Hard shit.
If Exhorder was to get back together right now, are they bigger than Crowbar?
Yeah.
Do you ever bring it up to Kyle and push him to say,
Well,
man, what's
I think-
going on? Crowbar and Exhorder, this tour we could really make
No,
a
I
lot of
think
money
if
and
they got
kill.
together with, you know, with Chris, with you, with Vince, with Jay, and say like Andy or something, and they put out a new record now, by all means they would be bigger than Crowbar. They were before Crowbar, and we would love to be the support act, you know.
Or
We'd
whatever.
love it.
A back and forth. But Kyle, before you say anything,
Okay, this is not my
why
race.
why don't you put Exhorder back together with a new band?
Well, first of all, there's a core of people in that band that band doesn't function well without it being at least this core of people.
Come on, man.
No.
There are
Dude.
killers out there. There are dudes out there that are ready to shred your music. It can't be because nobody else can play
You
it.
can't beat the original.
And
Well, I agree with that.
Can't.
But
Can't do it. Not in this case. Can't be done.
it's not, and I know this is an Exhorder question, but in my opinion, I mean, I look at Facebook, you know, I look at YouTube. There's 7-year-old kids playing fucking dime bag licks upside down while blindfolded. There's 5-year-old kids, you know, playing Angel of Death. You know, when we grew up, oh my God, nobody can play that. Oh my
well,
God,
it doesn't feel like Dimebag. They may be
but
playing
I
it,
mean,
but it don't
I'm just
feel
saying.
like it, right?
The point is, sure, there are shredders that can play Exhorder's music, But it's my thing when and I'm only gonna step back one thing, and I do apologize if I did cut in there.
No. I'm just
Speaking
hanging
of
out.
the good, well, me too, pretty much. But the good song thing, when we're talking about having good songs, I remember being like, when I worked at D.H. Holmes, man, I'd come home, take a shower.
Hold on a
Fuck
second.
yes.
That is a throwback.
Was this
you want to talk about a throwback, D.H. Holmes?
Receiving clerk.
Or was it Maison Blanc?
Maison
Maison
Blanche. Gotcha. But I remember like coming home, you know, and I was like practicing guitar on the couch or something. I took a shower, getting ready to have Victorian Blitz practice. I was kind of bummed out. My dad's like, "Son, you look a little bummed out, man. You okay?" Oh, excuse me. And I said, "Yeah." I said, "We're working on this one fucking lead thing to this one song, and I just can't get it. You know, I can do it, but it's hard now." And he goes, "Let me give you a piece of advice, and this is some of the best advice I've ever gotten in my life as far as being a musician, not just because it came from my father."
Open a beer.
He goes, "No, believe me, he did not say crack open a beer." He goes, "Son, quit worrying about how many fucking notes you can play." He goes, "Great musicians are a dime a dozen. Great songwriters are few in between, and few in between." He goes, "There's a great guitar player on every corner of every fucking major city in the damn world with a case trying to find a gig." He goes, "Write songs. Put your effort into writing songs." Writing songs is an art form that's completely different than, and as much respect as I have for shredders and guys that can play fast drums or hit the highest note or whatever it might be, that's all great. What? Just kidding.
Yeah, but Kirk, Exhorder has the songs.
They do.
They don't need to write any new songs.
We had 20 songs in one song. Actually, we had too
Right.
many songs.
So when I heard like
there were some songs that were good, classic, structured songs, but man, we were so just
Like,
we had so much to say at one time that we just literally said an album's worth of shit on one song.
And you
between
know, from
Slaughter
my
and the
point of view,
Vatican and the Law, we probably have an equal amount of riffs in the 11 Crowbar records, and I'm not lying, because we're a 3-4-5.
No,
3-4-5 riff, because we do a more traditional song structure with an intro or verse, chorus, bridge, whatever. We do our harmonies section as opposed to the solos. But you're right. I remember hearing what's the Toll of the Iron Bell.
Yeah, that's
like 33
parts.
parts.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's like- and
no,
I'm
no,
like-
no, that's the tragic period.
And that's
Okay,
my
yeah.
point. And this is
It
an
was
outsider.
epic type masterpiece.
Yeah, like
song.
looking-
Edgar Allan Poe inspired.
From an
They're great
outsider,
shit, but
I'm
no, it's
looking at
incredible.
I'm looking at it from a total business point of view. I feel like Kyle could bring back Exhorder, go on the road with Crowbar, and everybody can quit their jobs. We could live the rest of our life with just Kyle bringing three badasses together and doing
It
that.
sounds a lot easier on paper, but we tried it. We started it up again in 2009. We did a couple reunion shows around 2001, just for the fun of it, really, and it went over really big. But we didn't do it again for real until 2009-ish, and we did it for a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And for whatever reason, we've got some voodoo on us that makes it really hard for us to make things happen the way that they should. And when we were talking about doing a new album, I remember I talked to a very trusted confidant of mine in the industry, and he told me, he said, "You realize that everyone knows y'all are gonna fail." And I was like, "Well, fuck you and fuck them, man."
That's exactly what I would have
Yeah,
said.
and he's like, "Dude, we're rooting for you," Like, at the same time, I think Carcass was in the works. He's like, "You realize it's gonna be as big as Carcass if y'all can do it, but no one thinks you're going
we're
to
gonna
do
get to
it."
that.
And as it turns out, man, I was never so unhappy to be wrong.
And man, look, I'm not trying to push the issue or anything, but I'm always looking at it from an outsider's point of view. And to me, it's 1, 2, 3. Let's find 3 kids that are just madmen, a drummer, a guitarist, and a bassist. Put them with you, Crowbar, Exhorder. Let's go.
Nah, I don't want to.
It's not worth the money. It's not worth the money?
The only way I would really want to do it would be if it was right. And that would take a lot of work.
Gotcha. And
I
that's
love those dudes. I do. They're my brothers. I still see them from time to time. It's just tough sometimes. When it's been that long, it's family.
yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to work for family. That's a
Totally.
saying that I beat like a dead horse, but it's
Yeah.
true. It's hard to work with family sometimes.
The Houston Rock Group.
Totally understood.
What?
Dead
So
horse.
Yes.
we're probably
Dead
gonna
horse.
we're probably gonna go a little over than we usually do, and who knows? This could end up being a two-part thing because I'm just really having a good time talking to y'all.
Just an old-fashioned love song
Let's get into the good stuff.
coming down.
In
and
three-part harmony.
Let's get into the good stuff. The reason you didn't come here last week is because Crowbar has a new bass player.
Yes.
Okay. How long was the previous bass player with Crowbar? You're a four-piece, am I right?
Correct.
Okay. The last bass player you had, his name was
Jeff Golden.
Jeff Golden, and he was with Crowbar for a long time.
Since like October of 2013.
Okay, so about 3 years.
Yeah, going on 3 years.
What led to him not being in the band anymore?
It's a very long story. To make it short and to give all due respect and, keep it as drama-free as possible, it simply didn't work. It was working for a while.
On
and
his end or on your end?
Well, on both ends, but it's no fault of Jeff's at all. It's just being, I use this quote all the time, and it's true, being in a band is like being in a relationship. Like for me, I have my wife, Robin. I'm also in a band with Matt, Tommy Buckley, and back again with Todd Strange. And it's one of those things that sometimes you may love a person, it's just things change. And to make it, like I'm trying to make it short, I really am. Because
No, I don't want to make it short because
it's not a lot of drama.
I don't want to make it
No,
short.
no, I don't want to make it
bet you
short.
don't.
I want to know, did he leave?
Show number 2.
Did he leave or was he kicked out?
In my opinion, he was gonna leave. So
Okay.
I, as leader of the band, I let him go. I fired him. And maybe he didn't understand all those reasons, but I think one day he will. And I can say this, I played with Jesus, 20-something people in Crowbar over the last 20.
I thought you were going to say you played with Jesus. Because then this dude's on another level. I played with Jesus.
You ought to see
but
him
no.
do paradiddles.
Yeah.
But
And just so everybody knows, the original bass player and the current bass player are in the room watching us right now.
and he's looking hotter than ever.
Yeah, no, and that's okay because here's a thing that goes through my mind all the time, right? Things happen in bands and people break up. We're going to talk about in a second how y'all went to see House of Goats and they broke up, and nobody ever wants to come out and say, this is exactly what happened and this is the reason why. When I can tell you, I saw on Facebook when y'all announced it, y'all have almost 200,000 fans. People want to know the real answers. Is there a reason to keep it close to the vest?
Well, it's like this. It's like, to me, and I'm looking straight at the fucking camera.
Oh, right there.
This one, correct?
The one on the right.
That's why I'm looking.
Yeah.
Right there with lips from Anvil. On camera. But I mean, no, the truth, and this is very, very serious, Jeff's life went through a whole lot of changes. We've always supported him through all of that. And in my mind, and this is honest to God's truth, to clarify something, this is the first interview I've done.
And I appreciate
my first
that.
chance to tell the real truth. And I'm not saying that, I'm not talking about from Jeff's side, I'm talking about from Crowbar's side. Mm-hmm. I approached Todd 4 or 5 months ago. January. As not like, ooh, I want to get you back in the band. As, look, I'm noticing, now you got to realize, I've been doing this for a long time. Uh-huh. I've been playing in bands since I'm 15 years old. It's 36 fucking years. I'm 51 years old. I have played with probably 100 freaking people. I can tell when someone there's dissension, there's separation. They're not into it so much anymore. And I called T out of the blue one night and just said, dude, just out of curiosity, I'm getting a vibe that Jeff is kind of losing interest, and maybe with his family situation and everything, he may, to me, I'm not looking at about, I want to get rid of the guy. I'm looking at, he may say, Kirk, I'm really sorry, man, but you know, I know y'all are going on tour in 3 days, but I can't do this tour.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this long enough to always have a plan B. And my plan B, when I asked Todd, I simply said, look, if it comes to a situation where it doesn't work out with Jeff, are you capable with your, you know, financially, with your home life, with everything, you know, family life, the whole 9 yards, are you capable, if something happens, of joining the band and doing this full time? And he said, absolutely I am. I said, okay, that's all I needed to know. So regardless of what people might hear, you know, and I understand everyone's got an opinion, everyone looks at social media, whatever.
Well, you
but
have rabid fans and they're interested. You can
well,
see
no,
them
and
on
I want them
right?
to be interested.
Yeah.
But I mean, the honest to God's truth is, Todd rejoining Crowbar had absolutely nothing to do with Jeff being let go. Okay? That
Understood.
is a situation that just, it came to what I felt coming for since January. It came to a head, so to speak, and that was that. And then I said, well, T, are you ready to do this? He said, absolutely.
Fucking A.
So, I mean, to me, I think it's great for the longtime Crowbar fans, for the old school fans. And I mean, honest to God, I'm looking right at the camera, man. And if Jeff says otherwise, then maybe he's not the guy I thought he was. I love Jeff. I consider him my friend. I always have since the day I met him. I always will. And
He's a good dude.
speaking for, yeah, he's a great cat, man. Speaking for Crowbar, being the leader of the band, so to speak, you know, we wish genuinely and sincerely nothing but the best for him and his family. And we're just happy that it looks like he's got a lot going on, positive stuff. I mean, I don't mean bad shit like, oh my God, he's got a lot going on. A lot of positive stuff going on. And honestly, I'm glad I had the opportunity to do this tonight. You know, for us, I got blinders now, man. There's no looking back. In the words of Mr. Anselmo, yesterday don't mean shit. And that's one of the things I'll think about every day of my life. If I had a bad day yesterday, that's yesterday. Let's look at the moment and forward, and only the moment and forward.
So Crowbar is a four-piece, right?
Yep.
Can the other three get together and kick Kirk Windstein out of Crowbar?
Good luck, motherfucker. They can kick my old ass.
Right? Like that was look, that's the way my mind works. The first thing I was like, wow, I wonder if these three guys could get together and find a new frontman.
Well, they can. But I mean, look, I've been, for many I won't say years, but over the years, there have been, and I'm not exaggerating, at least 3, 4, 5 times maybe, where Crowbar has never broken up. Unlike Exhorder, for instance, which it is harder to
We've
go.
been more broken
right,
up
we've been broken up
together.
for 15 years. Let's try to get back together. We've never broken up, but there are plenty times that I have been the only member in Crowbar. And that's the truth. And being such a Motorhead fan, Lemmy has said the same thing. He's like, I never intended on breaking up Motorhead, but there were times when I'm looking around, I'm at a pub going, hey, Motorhead, I'm the only fucking guy in the band. I don't have a drummer, I don't have a guitar player, management, record label, whatever, you know. And you do what you got to do. But I mean, you know, as much as we
good
respect
God.
and wish nothing but the best, and that's serious, man. I'm not a bullshitting type of dude, bro. I'm 51 years old. I've been doing this shit since I'm a kid. I'm being honest. We wish Jeff nothing but the best. And that's the truth. And I think something nice is going to blossom for him, and he will be, regardless of what it is, you know, whether it's a band, whether it's touring in another capacity, or whatever it is. He's a very intelligent guy, very nice guy. And with that said, you know, we thank him genuinely for what he's done to help Crowbar. But things don't always work out. It didn't work out. and we are happy to have this extremely hot man wearing the pink bikini.
Yeah.
Wearing a mankini
Well, I tell you what.
back into the fold. Because I
really-
started with Todd and Jimmy, to be honest. That's the bottom line. Back in the late 80s, Todd and Jimmy started jamming together in 89.
I really appreciate you being just straightforward with that, because I think if even though Kyle and I haven't been friends forever, if there's one thing he could get from the little bit that we've been hanging out, I have no agenda. I'm really just curious. And when I went and looked at, I mean, you got 190 fucking thousand fans on Facebook. I didn't realize it was that huge. And when the announcement was made, poof, it was like a firestorm, and people were interested. And I will say this: for 2 days, I read every comment and almost
to
every.
be friends with Kyle Thomas, doesn't it?
Thank you, my friend. It was actually the majority was very positive. Actually,
It's 90-something
the
percent
family. The Crowbar family, the fans. Most of the comment, it was positive about who was there and positive about who was coming back. So I appreciate you talking about that.
Sure.
We're going to go a little bit over than we usually do, if you don't mind, just because I got a couple of more things to talk to you about. One is,
I got one more beer in me before
here you go.
bedtime.
I brought, yeah.
Soon I'm gonna have to get 1 or 2 beers out of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm holding on there too with you.
Yeah. So we're not going too much longer. We can hit it quick. Social media. I want to get you two guys' outlook on being popular and doing your thing 20 years ago, 10 years ago versus today, and being on social media where everybody can get at you. And when you say something, Kyle, you're a guy who is a funny, goofy dude. You're on Facebook and social media every day, just having fun and things like that. How do y'all feel about the fans being able to get at you and you being able to put your stuff out there on a moment's notice versus?
It's true, dude. They like seeing you be a real person.
Yeah.
That's true.
I agree, and that's one thing, sometimes to a fault.
Yes.
Sorry,
When you're wearing your Ace Frehley shoes in the grocery store.
a certain man that I love, who is a dear friend and co-manages a band, sometimes to a fault, I admit it. But the bottom line is, they do. They want to see, as simple as it is, they want to see me at the grocery store with my wife, looking through the fucking produce section. As boring as that might seem,
No, we want it.
it's real life. It's like they want to know that we're real people. They want us, we don't,
One of the biggest posts I had on my artist page last month was
I
a
did like
picture
it.
of my cat. I took a picture of my cat and made a silly comment. There's like 30 or 40 comments of people with their cats.
Okay, well, here's what I really want to get at. And
Now I'm an old cat lady.
I'd like with a sweet goatee. So here's really what I want to talk about, because I've been watching y'all for the past couple of weeks, just getting ready for the interview and all. You had an incident on Facebook where somebody put a video out mocking you in quotations, and you and your wife, you retaliated on Facebook telling them that they should take that post down.
actually what happened was a friend of ours.
Matt Brown.
But
Yeah, he's
Tony
a-
White, a friend of ours,
Yeah.
hit us up and said, "Man, Matt Brown made this thing." I mean, personally, I watched and just went, "Oh, whatever. I don't give a shit, dude."
It wasn't funny. That's what, like, if it was funny,
Well,
it would have been
didn't-
cool.
And I do agree a little bit with Matt. I mean, he retaliated a little bit in private, but just saying, well, this is a character I made up, and it's not just about Kirk. It was Cork
Court windbreaker.
yeah.
Court
So
windbreaker.
it's kind of got a little something to do with KW, Kirk Windstein.
Obviously, it was a
Hey,
parody.
dude, it's all good. Anybody who knows me for a long time, these two guys, of course, I love making a jackass of myself. That's what he loves too. That's why the other day he did something and Robin's like, y'all have to be, my wife's like, y'all have to be related somehow. Because we will do it just because we having fun.
We had a couple of funny nights on that tour.
Oh my
man.
God.
But y'all did tell him to take it down.
Well, we said, yeah, and it's kind of in poor taste, whatever, take it down. I mean, and in no disrespect whatsoever, it only had like 60 views or something. It wasn't like
It had like 2 before y'all said anything.
I can believe it.
Right?
But my thing is, if someone wants to make fun of me, I'm fine with that, you know. I really am. I've always been the class clown. I've always been the kind of guy, look, you build me a box, I'll stand on that motherfucker and make a stage out of it. I'll do something dumb.
Yeah.
Not too dumb, but, you know,
So
something
you're
to get attention.
You're okay with people.
It's not an ego. It's just I don't mind. I'm not a private person. I'm a very social person. I enjoy meeting people, talking to people. You know, I enjoy that part of my life and that part of my job. So I have no problem if people do whatever they do. You know, I think it's.
I consider myself a pretty funny person. This dude makes me laugh.
Yeah, it was just, it's very interesting now, right? Being someone who is well known, and you could use the words famous, and then all of a sudden you've got people that are making fun of you or building you up or breaking you down, and that's a whole...
Breaking you down.
Breaking you out in a cold sweat.
So you were fine with what he did, and you don't care what, and that's the angle that I would take.
To be honest, I mean, Tony brought it to our attention, which I appreciate. And then when I looked at it, I'm like, you know, Robin was like, oh my, and I kind of at first was a little pissy, and then I'm like, I said, you know what, just hit him up. I said, but I don't care. And she even said that. She goes, honestly, Kirk, it really didn't bother him. You know, he just, I don't give a fuck. I mean, how can you be a person that's in the public eye and, you know, if we're out all together, you know, Robin and I and you and Renee and T and whatever, our whole group of crazy friends, if we're doing stupid stuff and we're taking pictures and video, we don't lick it up. Ugh. I mean, it's
That was
ridiculous.
awesome.
It's ridiculous.
Literally, like you, me, what, Larry?
Yeah, Crazy Larry.
And we're all like in the
Like,
camera.
woo,
Funny
dude,
shit.
boss.
You had to be there.
But I mean, we enjoy life. So if, you know, I'm not the kind of person to normally get butthurt or, oh my God, I can't believe, you know, it's like they want to make a fat joke. Have at it. I mean, I'm not standing here posing on the Olympia stage for the Sandow Trophy. I'm just a happy-go-lucky dude that loves to jam, and I like drinking some beer and having fun with my wife and my friends and whatever. And that's about it, man. So, you know, it was never a bad thing or...
Well, I did want to tell you that I did see it, and I saw when the whole thing went down, and I would have liked if it would have been a funny video, but he just kind of missed the boat on it being funny. If you're funny, you can stab me in the back, and if it's funny, it's funny.
Well,
but
I know Matt, and Matt can be very funny.
He can.
Yeah,
On
sure.
that,
Matt can be very funny. I didn't see this, so I can't judge it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I didn't find it that fun. I didn't.
It would have been awesome if it was
hilarious.
funny.
Like, I mean, like there's the guy that does the damn cooking hostile stuff with Philip and all.
Yeah.
With Phil. And it's like, I'm in a couple of episodes, he's like, all right, Kirk, over for the weather. And I'm like singing a Crowbar song, you know. Of course, it's a cartoon, whatever thing. But it's fucking funny. And Phil's
yeah.
like, man, you know, I met the guy that does it. He does it great. You know, I think Phil even did some voice stuff for him and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, that's great. You want to make? I mean, it's not even making fun. It's just funny.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. And when you miss the boat on that, it's not as cool.
But-
So one more thing before we get to the rapid fire while we end. We talked about just a second before being two guys that are entrenched in the metal scene and really known. I'm sure y'all have read the reports about Machine Head and Rob Flynn and the song they put out called "And Is There Anybody Out There?" And if you watch his video and you read a little bit about it, it was purposely written, or some of the lyrics were written, and he even went back and says he made them more aggressive to kind of attack Phil Anselmo about the issues that he had earlier this year. Now, I mean, he in the song that is going to be publicly released, and they said is the catchiest song on the record, and they know it's going to get radio play. He just comes flat out and calls Phil racist. He does. He says it's a brother that I used to know, and now he's a racist. That's pretty strong words. I don't really need to know what you think about the two of them, but what do you think about artists at that level taking their forum to attack other people who are being attacked and don't need any more people piling on them. What did you think about that?
You want to go first?
I mean, I know both of those guys,
I do as well.
and
Obviously, Philip.
And look,
Yeah,
and I will
yeah.
say, the reason I don't want to go back on it is because Kyle's been on the show before, and one thing about Kyle that I know is you can trust him and he tells the truth, and we talked about it, and he didn't agree with any of the things that everybody was piling on about. But what do you feel about a dude that is that mainstream and big?
it drives me up the wall because I do know them both, and what I know of both of them are that they're good people, and you know, I don't know Rob as well as I know Phil because I grew up here with Phil, and I only know Rob since I've been in my 20s, and I haven't seen him maybe since I've been in my late 20s. But you know, I still think he's a great dude, and you know, we're friends.
Oh, I told you the story. I
But-
saw him a year ago, and they're an insane, awesome band,
He's
right?
a big Machine Head's killer,
Yeah.
yeah.
Toured with
But-
him when
yeah.
I became a Sorrow, man.
I don't know. Somewhere down the line, it seems to me that there's some kind of grudge, or I'm not going to say it's a one-sided grudge because I just don't know, but there seems to be some sort of friction there that hasn't been resolved yet, and I don't know. Fighting in a public forum over and over and over again is probably
It's what
never
rappers
going
do.
to end up good.
Right? It's what rappers do.
You know,
That's right. I mean, what I'm asking is, how do you feel about, take the names and take the bands out of it? How do you feel about in metal, that being, or just music? How do you feel about using that forum to attack other people?
Well, when you asked us prior to the show, you kind of said you were going to ask
Yeah.
us. And you said, is that off limits? And I said, no, it's not. But I'm going to be cautious.
Of course, yeah.
Main thing being, you know, I still consider Phil one of my closest, oldest friends. I know Rob. I'm actually pretty good friends with Dave McLean, the drummer, and Facebook friends with Phil, the guitar player from Machine Head. And my thing is, and I have no problem saying this, what Phil did, and this is the truth, that's not the Phil that I know.
it's not.
That I played in a band with called Down for 22 years. It's not. But what we see and what we hear and the gestures or whatever, you cannot condone it, you can't defend it, but my thing to Rob is, and it's not a disrespectful thing at all, is I feel, and let me make my words very choice, I just feel like if Rob were black or Rob were Jewish or whatever, you know, was married, it just, we know that you cannot condone anything racist. You cannot condone, especially anything, Zig Heil, a Nazi salute or whatever. You can't. But
Shit, dude, you and I walked through Dachau 2 months ago.
right, we just went to.
Yeah.
We did. We all went there, and that's my second time. It's crazy. Concentration camp, you know.
no
We
joke.
can't condone that stuff, but we don't, and Phil doesn't either, and he's
I know.
apologized. It's
Yes.
like, how many times, my thing is just maybe, I think it's a bit too much, in my opinion, to continue. Like Rob made, I think, like an 11-minute speech, and you know what? He made a lot of valid points, and that's fine. But to me, I think that should have been his swan song as far as the incident. The
Yeah.
incident is old news now.
Yep.
It might be a dead horse by now, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like to continue to rekindle it, to bring it up and all that kind of stuff, I think is a bit unnecessary, and I'm trying
agree.
to I'm trying to walk on eggshells, man, because I don't
No,
want
that's
to piss
fine.
anybody off.
I
any
think you're
fans of
being
any
as
band.
honest as you need to be, and I
I
agree.
just think at this point, you know, I mean, hey, if he really feels like he had to go rewrite lyrics and redo a song, then that as an artist, and he's a very talented fucking artist, man, no doubt about it.
They're killer.
That's his decision, you know.
And I'm with you. Just so, look, it's my show, and I ask y'all the questions
Well,
to
I'm
get
not-
your
I'm not
opinion.
trying
No. I'm saying I agree with you. Just to give my opinion to everybody. I thought, even though I'm a new Machine Head fan, because I saw him about a year and a half ago, it seems like that should have been a man-to-man type deal and not a, I'm putting this on my record that may play across the whole country.
If
deal.
I put in a public statement every personal incident that I wrote about and said, this is what it meant to me, I would have so many people hating me. It's not even fucking funny.
I mean,
yeah.
But to me, and this goes back to the whole, interpretation thing, when I get asked by people, what did you think of when you were writing this line? What was this about? And I always ask them, what does it mean to you?
Yeah.
Take whatever anger I gave on that freaking lousy day and put it on paper and tracked it in the studio and insert it into your life, and however it helped you get through
I'm the
that
same
friggin'
way.
day, it's not the same. What I felt is irrelevant. What does it mean to you? And I just don't have any desire to take my dirty laundry out
And to
throw
kind
it
of
upside down.
wrap that thing up, like it being a fan of kind of everything that's going on, being a huge Pantera Down fan, it just seemed unnecessary. It almost seemed kind of like a little bit of a publicity stunt and a reason to get more focus on the guys. So we don't have to harp
No,
on that. I
I mean,
just
I
really
have,
wanted to get your
you know,
thought.
one more, whatever, statement or one more answer to it. And my thing is, it's a lose situation for everybody.
Yeah,
That
agreed.
Philip did make a huge mistake, and we
Yeah.
know that. We know that.
Yeah.
And Rob spoke his mind, and hey, he's got every right as a upstanding American citizen to speak his mind. And really, I'd like to leave it at that. If it hit him that hard, and maybe it did, I'm not by any means judging his sincerity in what he said. If he feels a need to do a song that, is basically bashing what happened,
Sure, it was.
then by all means, that's his privilege or his right to do that. And really, I'll leave it at that. Music, like Kyle said, I had to rewrite an entire song because I wrote one last night. I was so pissed off. It made Pete Steele on the Retaliation album sound like fucking John Denver with a joint and a fucking cup of cappuccino or something in the mountains. I had to go rewrite all these words. I'm like, oh my God.
Am I a dirty person?
I'm like, yeah, this is my Disney Pixar version. Because I don't usually even curse in songs. And I had a couple of curse words, but I had something I had to get off my chest, and I wrote it down.
Yeah.
So as an artist, you're free to do what you want to do. Now, with that being said, for me, I think we both touched upon that it's a very touchy subject.
Of
but
course.
We both talked about it.
Yeah.
And we kind of gave it. So my thing is, to everyone involved, Phil, I love you.
I think we all do.
And, I wish nothing bad against Machine Head or Rob or whatever. And maybe I'm taking the PC route on this one, but it really doesn't involve me.
No, I
So
totally agree.
I'm not going to put myself out there.
I
as a
don't want you
target.
to, and I was more of kind of less just asking about the whole
Here's
genre
a simple
as a whole.
fact, and this isn't directed at any one person at all. This goes for all of us. At some point, you got to pay the piper.
Yeah.
No matter what you do in interview or songwriting experience or art or acting or whatever, you're throwing something. How many actors are there out there that play nothing but bad guys? And
Yeah.
people out there think they're bad people, and they don't know them at all.
Exactly.
But if you're gonna throw it out there, you need to be prepared for what could happen for better or for worse.
And I think you're right, and I'm
Very
totally
eloquent,
pumped
seriously.
for. When I was doing research on this thing, it was hard to find two more respected guys when you talk to people in this genre,
thank
and I'm glad y'all were honest about that. And we are going to end this thing on a little bit of a rapid fire happy note after all.
Pounding the world like a battering ram.
So let's end this thing like this. I do a segment at the end of every show called 6 to 9 Things. It's 6 to 9 things about Kirk Windstein and Kyle Thomas. Number 1.
Kyle Thomas and Kirk Windstein 69ing?
I mean, look, however you want to think about it later on your love seat, that's up to y'all. Okay, Crowbar is about to head on a tour, a North American tour called One Foot in the Grave. Where is the other foot?
On stage.
I was hoping you would say up your ass, because I did see an interview.
That's what I was thinking.
I saw an interview with Kirk in Germany where he was saying the good news is we are Crowbar, and the bad news is we are going to kick your ass, which I liked. All right, number 2. Dimebag Darrell once paid Kirk $300 to dive in a pool during the winter with nothing but a werewolf mask on.
It's true. I mean, what do you?
I'm glad to hear it's true, and I would like to hear just a short version of what happened.
Well, what happened is we did the Incredible Hulk, which is on the Pantera 3 video, which was, for whatever reason, hugely popular. And he's like, dude, we got to do something else. And I think we both agreed the werewolf. Rita as well was kind of like, we're in the kitchen at the house, and we're like, you know, he's rigging up my werewolf outfit and all this shit. Well, it's like 28 degrees outside. And he's like, dude, you got to go fucking raw, straight off the diving board, just So I get up there, you know, drinking some drinks or whatever. And I do that, and I hit the water, and it was so cold. It was,
You
I mean,
cursed
it was
home.
almost like you know, ice.
Shock.
And I went kind of underwater, and I popped up, jumped up, and went straight in the hot tub for like an hour. But it's true. I mean, that's
Dressed like a werewolf.
Boop. That sound, dude.
well. Quickly, was that?
Yeah. No. Don't wrap it
No,
up.
a lot of people
This is
ask
already a
always-
2-part interview, just to let you know.
It's always, well, what's the craziest story you can tell us about being on tour? And I go,
We're ready.
you know what? There's no one crazy story, but I'll tell you one thing. It involved Dimebag.
There's whatever the story was, it
Some of
involved
my
Dime.
best
I
rock
don't give a
memories are
fuck.
with, well, actually, some of my best can't remembers are with Dimebag.
And the thing is, I want to point this out because it's honest to God's truth. It was only just guys getting drunk, having fun. Good, clean. We didn't do anything wrong. We wasn't womanizing. We weren't doing drugs. I mean, we were, well, beer, you know, and Crown. But I mean, you know, it was just dudes having fun. And that's the truth.
Trying to win the idiot contest.
Right. Who's the bigger jackass?
I totally understand that. That's what it's like to be on tour with a bunch of fun dudes.
See, there was a time when I was about 21, 22 years old. I found myself standing naked in a motel parking lot in New Jersey, screaming revelations at the top of my lungs out of a Bible. It happens.
It does. And you know what? You didn't hurt anybody, and it was a good time. So here's next. From a very reliable source, I've heard that Kirk has quite the big male member, and you like to play tricks with it.
Since he jumped in that pool.
I have heard a phrase called that you like to play dick tricks.
Out of respect to my wife and daughter, I would like this poor.
No. These were only dudes that told me this
No,
stuff. So
it's fine, but I mean, I got a 13-year-old daughter and a lovely wife.
We can always edit it out.
My wife knows I was crazy with all that, but my daughter has no ideas.
yeah.
But,
So let's just say, like Donald Trump, there's no problems in that category.
well, I mean, I'm happy. My wife's happy.
It doesn't take much to make a room full of dudes laugh when they're drinking.
I'm with you.
So-
I'm with you. And
I'm sure it was all greatly exaggerated, honestly.
Number 4, Kyle Thomas's favorite rapper is 2 Chainz. True or false?
2 Chainz? That sounds like something I ate at Fort Orchid the other
No.
night.
Do y'all like or hate rap music, or do you ever give it a chance?
I like some of it.
I do
Who do you like?
some
Who
of
do you
the
like?
old
What-
shit.
Wiz Khalifa. He did them.
He's from Pittsburgh. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
You know
Yeah.
why?
So you'll give hip hop a chance.
Shit, when
Well, if it's like the 1 out of 100 hip hop songs that are good, sure.
You will. If
I
it's a
think-
good
I
song,
think
it's a good song.
In general, it's a shitty genre that's copied and unoriginal and whatnot, but there are songs that I do like.
What if somebody contacted you and they wanted to use a Crowbar sample to use in one of their hip hop records? Would you do it?
Pay me, motherfucker. I'll be on a
What
McDonald's
about
commercial.
Exhorder? What if I called you tomorrow and
I
said,
actually
Kyle,
heard a dance remix of
Oh my God.
one of the, like,
He hit it.
this is
I'm not kidding you.
breaking news.
A dance remix of the
Anal Lust?
the heavy middle section of Desecrator, and you know, fuck your god, dude.
No shit.
It was crazy. Dude.
Number 5, the two of y'all or one of you have gotten together before and had a couple of drinks and written or played a metal version of Eleanor Rigby.
I don't know. That's probably possible.
It is possible because
Because I saw you talk about it on YouTube.
well, I've been wanting to. When we did the Crowbar, actually, it was just one. It was a perfect example of just me being in the band. I had Craig Nunemacher on drums, but he was paid to play drums. I had Rex Brown, one of my dearest friends, and Craig as well, on bass and co-producing the record, and that was the band. And I did guitar, but we started to work up a drunk version of Eleanor Rigby. Kyle and I are both known late
Song
night.
ruiners.
Yeah.
Late night song ruiners.
Roaders.
Late Night Crooner.
It's not
And Beatles
uncommon.
fans, obviously.
Katie, I think it's a sin when I find you've been dancing with my toothless friend Jim. Jim Bauer. But no, we enjoy ourselves. And it's good, clean. I call it good, clean fun because we're not harming anyone. We're just
No.
having fun, singing songs, blowing our throats out. I'll be like, dude, I gotta sing tomorrow.
Look,
He's like, I got a
You know what
gig.
we do when we're like late at night hanging out with our friends and shit? We're playing like old 70s hits, funk, all this shit. The last thing we're doing is just like, let's get the most heavy thing in the world. The last thing that people that play heavy music want to play all night long is
It's
heavy music.
Yes.
And we're old, so we like old shit. So we're probably going to be listening to like Hot Chocolate, UFO, Yes,
Hell
indeed.
yeah.
Everyone's a winner,
Everyone's
baby.
a winner, baby. Yes.
Well, I would say number 6 of the 6 to 9 things is the last thing we're going to talk about. And what I wanted to talk about is Kyle in trouble and in the band. Not that you're in trouble. And,
You're in trouble.
and Kirk is in Crowbar. And these guys are at 190,000 likes on Facebook. And I want to help them get to 200,000.
Well, somebody help us out because we're only like 18. We're losers.
Yeah,
That's-
but when we
no, that's
started, we were 20, and Robin started doing it. I'm not lying. In 3 years, less than 3 years, it blew from 20 to 189.
Well, then let me get some Gene Simmons shoes and
How
I'll
much-
go walk in
how
the
much-
store with you with the Ace Frehley.
How much
shoes.
credit do you give your wife for the success of Crowbar?
Well, I'll say it this way without trying to sound mushy.
No, because I've watched your interviews and I get it.
She was my biggest supporter. She is my biggest supporter with everything. And when the separation, because it wasn't necessarily a kick out or a quit, when the separation with Down happened, she was my biggest cheerleader, so to speak, on Kirk. You can do this with Crowbar. Start it again. Do it full time. I'll sell you merchandise. I'll blow up your Facebook page. I'll fucking do whatever I can do. And I mean, she really, 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 I gave her all the credit in the world. And that's the honest to God's truth. Because I was really in a bad point in my life when the separation with Down came about. And those guys will tell you that, and I'm telling you that. Robin will tell you that.
Yeah.
God knows that. For T, the devil knows it. The devil knows it. But no, I give her all the credit in the world, and I mean that because even today she came to the studio with us, took pictures. And I always tell her, look, you're a vital part of the Crowbar machine. Kyle's witnessed it on tour as well. She's always upbeat. She's always fun. She wants to do nothing but to help the band, and that's a great thing. So, I mean, to be able to work side by side with her is fantastic. Keep in mind, she is not our manager. She is our U.S. tour manager and merch lady and our merch girl in Europe. So she doesn't make decisions for the band or anything like that. This is not, Sharon Osbourne brainwashing poor Ozzy.
Man, she's cool. Dude,
This
she's
all she wants is what's best for me, and in turn, what's best for Crowbar, which in turn, it's a cycle, helps our family and helps.
She was
the band.
a wonderful ray of light for everybody on that tour that we did together. And I've known Robin for a long, long time, and she's never been anything but sweet. But your situation's not unlike mine. I have a wife who believes in me. Your wife believes in you. She wants you to do well, and it's clear and evident that with her behind you, you're stronger. So
Absolutely, and it's any good woman, or vice versa. If you're a woman that is an entertainer or plays music or whatever it might be, if your husband gives you 110% support, it's so important, because let's face it, most wives really would prefer that their man not be
In the public eye.
us.
or
Yep.
right.
Without a doubt, yeah.
But
No,
you
I'm
know
with
what?
you.
We're fortunate enough to have two lovely wives. Well, one each, of course.
Yes.
That support us in everything that we do, and
Well,
it's extremely important. It really is.
I'll tell you what, I really appreciate you guys coming on Wine and Cheese with me. The whole
Speaking of which, where's the fucking cheese, man? I don't drink wine.
I'm cheese. Yeah, but I'm glad y'all came on. I would love to in the future have you back again. This is the second time I've had Kyle on.
So that
really,
means I'm out for a while.
the whole point of the show from the beginning was to be able to talk to people that I'm interested in and I think that are interesting, and kind of give
I'm
them.
taking, just to let you know.
Yeah, you give me a minute, I got you.
You're in this pink chair, dude.
Yeah. Yes, you are in a pink chair.
True.
But I'm glad y'all came in, and I hope to get you back maybe down the road when you come off the road and talk about some more stuff. But this has been Wine and Cheese. This is KIRK WINDSTEIN. This is Kyle Thomas. This is two really kick-ass dudes, and I only love them more after this interview. So I hope everybody enjoys it, and we'll talk to you next time. This has been Wine and Cheese. Thank you.